Bucktail. Bucktail, yeah, Bucktail. Colors, nice. Oh, there's more, lots more. Bucktail. So I'm gonna take you guys to the Bob Popovics School of Bucktail. That's what we're gonna do. If you can tie with Bucktail, you can tie with anything. And this is the greatest resource you have access to. So please buy this. It'll take these videos to the next level, and your understanding and the application and all of these little minute details that are gonna be covered by Pop will change the way you tie for the rest of your life. This first video is all about how to prep the hair for tying, how to tie in the round, how to get a perfectly even, uniform distribution of material. And then we're gonna take Bob Popovics Bucktail Deceiver, break it down to its basic elements, how to scale it up or down relative to your hair, and get that perfect teardrop silhouette. I'm Gunnar Brammer with Brammer's Custom Flies. Let's do this. So I'm gonna come in with an average tail. It is a long piece of rawhide, but the hair is only about 4.5 inches, maybe slightly above average, but a pretty average tail. I'm gonna take a nice, thin, sparse pinch. I'm going to cut it very close to the hide, nice and flush. I'm going to make sure these tips have some good taper to them. I don't want some flush cut tips here. You can see I have hair way down here and here and here, right? So I have a bunch of variation in the tip length. I have a lot of variation in the tip length. That's quite important. I'm going to come up to about the halfway point, maybe less. So I have about 1 inch of bucktail butts exposed, and I'm just going to flick that with my finger. That's how you're going to prep it for tying. And then you can pull out some of the loose, super short hairs and also any insulative fibers. I'm going to cut that bucktail very clean, very vertical. So that hair's ready for tying. I'm going to overemphasize the technicality of this a little bit because I really want to drive it home. The most important thing you're going to do is we're going to use the Giovanni kind of pinch technique to set this in place, and all of our thread wraps are going to be perfectly perpendicular to the hook axis, and they're going to be perfectly in line right on top of one another. It's absolutely critical for getting a perfectly even, just uniform distribution of materials. It's going to be 10 times more important in the bulkhead, reverse bulkhead hollow fly, but this is where you practice it and learn the basic skill, okay? So I'm gonna come over, I'm gonna take my thread, I'm gonna draw it up into my fingers, pinch it, I have all that perfect slack, I can suck it straight down into the hook. Once it's trapped, I can take a perfectly perpendicular thread path and another one. Now you might see my bobbin move out of the way of my hook point. That's a very small thing. I move it in and around, and then I come up with that perpendicular thread path. Now, it has to be perpendicular, because when you go to distribute the material, we're going to take our thumb, we're going to shove it on top of that thread, we're going to pinch the sides, we're going to pinch top and bottom, we're going to pinch the sides, we're going to pinch top and bottom. Every time you're doing this pinch, that hair is going to run away from the pressure. It has to physically escape from the pressure, and so it'll move itself around until all the hair is even. But that hair has to move around, and that hair is going to follow the thread path that the thread is trapped on top of it. Now the first wrap is most important, but you want all those thread paths to be identical so that it'll move perfectly perpendicular and the hair won't kink off left or right and get trapped under itself and then have a non-square face to it when you go to tie it off. So I've done this, I've pinched it, it's perfectly distributed. Now any sort of slack that's in there, because I have a loose bundle of bucktail, I'm going to pull out with a smooth draw of the thread. Now this is important that it's smooth because you need to feel the thread stretch elastically so you know you're pulling to the max potential, and you don't want to shock the thread. If you shock it, it'll break much more quickly. So a smooth thread pull takes some pressure, and I'm going to lock my bobbin down, so I'm tying with more pressure than I normally would. I'm going to tie all those butts perfectly flush, and then I'm going to come 4 or 5 forward, 4 or 5 back. And that's how I lock all of that in place for maximum strength and durability. I'm going to take my fingers and just make sure, so I took my fingers, but you can also take the point of your scissors, or you can take a bodkin, clean the hair away from the bend of your hook, and just kind of pinch it back. Now, on this first tail stack, I might pull out some thread, lock it, let the circumference of the bucktail eat it up a little bit, come back down onto my thread base, and be done. Now that technique as simple as it is, it's just going to repeat itself as you progress up the hook shank. So what makes a bucktail deceiver a swimming and fishing machine? It's going to be the density of the bucktail and the spacing between stacks. So we're going to take Bob Popovics Bucktail Deceiver. We're going to do the Bob Popovics Classic Sketch, and I'm going to address three things primarily: length of the wing, density of the wing, and the spacing on the hook. So let's just look at this. If you look at our tie-in zones, I'm going to break that hook up into different sections. I'm going to have kind of a long space, short, short. So I have 5 tie-in zones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as we progress forward, the hair stacks are going to get closer together. I'm putting bulk forward. Now, if you look at the length of the wing, the first wing is going to be the longest, so the longest hair I have access to. I'm going to repeat that more or less with the second wing. The third wing is going to be shorter, the fourth wing is going to be shorter, the fifth wing is going to be the shortest. This is going to build that proper teardrop silhouette, and from here down, from the shoulders all the way to the tail, you have tip exposure, and it's the tips of the bucktail that move and swim. So when you can create tip exposure from the shoulders to the tail, you get a fly that undulates and swims in the water. Pretty wicked cool, right? Now, as far as the density of the hair, you're going to go from sparser to denser. So it's going to mirror the spacing on the hook shank. It's really quite simple. So I did just kind of reference numbers, but 20 fibers, 20 fibers, 30 fibers, 35, 35. So you can see the fiber density gets denser as the stacks get closer together, as the hair goes from long to medium to short. Now, something to drive home here: do not use long hair, do not use the same bucktail to do the whole fly. You want long hair, medium hair, short hair, not long hair cut shorter and long hair cut very short, because bucktail is progressively tapered. And so all of that bulk building and flare and trapped air and rigidity and anti-foulness and then the movement in the tips, you're going to totally throw all of the things that make bucktail awesome out the window if you take this long fiber, you cut it in half so that you have the right length. So when I finish this fly, you're going to see I have like 4.5 inch hair, 4 inch hair, 3.5 inch hair. So I have all of my ranges covered so that I can tie the hair in at full length to get the perfect teardrop silhouette, maximizing the flare and trapped air, maximizing the rigidity at the base of the hair material, and then keeping all of the light tips from the shoulders all the way to the tail. That's Bob Popovics Bucktail Deceiver. Now, I am unbelievably grateful to have this, but I met Bob Popovics in person at the Edison, New Jersey fly fishing show a few years back, and he gave me an original Bob Popovics Bucktail Deceiver. And one of the things I want to show you guys is the fact that Bob has access to some crazy quality hair, but you can tie that fly and nothing changes. Look how much bigger his is. Nothing changes other than the length of the hair. So you could, if you had like 6.5 inch hair for the tail, like Bob does, and then you had 5.5 inch hair for that midsection, and then you had 4.5, maybe 5 inch tail that's really wavy for that head section, you could tie the fly identical and scale it up anywhere from 4 inches to 6.5 inches, depending on the quality and style of hair you have. So it's an extremely versatile pattern. Nothing of the basic design changes as far as kind of hair density, spacing on the shank, wing length. Basically, you're just looking at proportionality, and you set that by the length of the tail, and then everything is based off of that. So as long as you have access to high quality hair in various lengths, you can tie this pattern in various lengths at various sizes, and it's one of the fishiest and simplest flies on the planet. So thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one.